a wealthy heir, after enduring the collapse of his company, a broken marriage, and the loss of loved ones, secretly entered an unexplored underwater cave. He was never seen again. Search dogs later picked up the scent of decomposition near the shore, yet water tests revealed no bacterial traces associated with a decomposing body. Some of the world's top cave divers searched the depths repeatedly, but found absolutely nothing. Even when the reward climbed to $30,000, no one dared to go back down. And this is the story of the Whirlpool Sink Cave diving tragedy in Florida, USA. Whirlpool Spring is located inside a privately operated diving park in Florida. The lake remains crystal clear year-round, but beneath the surface lies a maze-like underwater cave system. The entire cave system stretches nearly 500 meters in length. The first section of the cave is relatively wide, but at around 75 meters, warning signs and a locked gate block the passage ahead, allowing entry only to certified cave divers. Deeper inside, the tunnels become extremely narrow, with the tightest sections measuring less than 25 centimeters across. The cave floor is covered in soft silt, where even a slight disturbance can reduce visibility to zero. During the 1990s alone, 13 divers lost their lives here, making it one of the most dangerous cave diving sites in the world. Ben McDaniel was born into a wealthy family. He began scuba diving at the age of 15 and held an open water diving certification, but had no formal cave diving qualifications. In 2010, Mike suffered a series of devastating setbacks. His marriage fell apart, his construction company went bankrupt, and his younger brother Paul died from a stroke. Afterward, he moved to a vacation house in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, to recover emotionally. Whirlpool Spring soon became his main escape from reality, and he visited almost every day to dive. The staff there all knew him well. On the morning of August 18, 2010, Mike drove to Whirlpool Spring. Like usual, he first completed a routine dive to a depth of 18 meters, then returned to his car to rest. At around 7 p.m., he geared up once again and descended into the spring. At that time, 2 employees from the park's dive shop, Eduardo and Chuck, had just finished their own dive and were preparing to leave. By chance, they noticed Mike underwater, heading toward the entrance of the cave system. Eduardo initially stopped him and reminded him that the gate key was only issued to certified cave divers. But Mike insisted that he would only go in a short distance and would return quickly. Because the 2 men knew each other well, Eduardo eventually gave in and unlocked the iron gate. Mike then swam into the cave alone. It was the last time anyone would ever see him. Afterward, Eduardo and Chuck surfaced and rested nearby. Sometime later, they noticed bubbles rising to the surface and assumed Mike was performing decompression stops, so they packed up their gear and left. Early in the morning of August 19th, employees noticed that Mike's car was still parked there. At first, no one thought much of it, assuming he had stayed somewhere nearby after diving. But by August 20th, more than 48 hours had passed since Mike entered the cave, and his car remained untouched in the parking lot, with all of his belongings still inside. The staff finally realized something was terribly wrong, and immediately called the police. Police quickly arrived at Whirlpool Spring and joined local diving enthusiasts in the search effort. Because the cave system was extremely complex, with narrow passages deep inside, ordinary divers were unable to penetrate very far. After thoroughly searching the first 100 meters of the cave, investigators found no trace of Mike at all. No dropped equipment, no signs of human activity. Meanwhile, police search dogs detected the odor of decomposition near the shore, leading rescuers to believe Mike's body was still somewhere inside the cave. However, repeated water quality tests conducted by health officials found no bacterial spikes associated with human decomposition, making it impossible to confirm whether the scent the dogs detected was actually linked to Mike. The investigation soon reached a dead end. The case caused a major sensation within the diving community. An elite cave diving expert, Ed Sorensen, arrived to assist. He conducted 3 separate dives, each one going deeper than the last. Sorensen squeezed through passages barely wide enough for a single person to pass. Some sections were less than 25 centimeters across. Mike stood 1.85 meters tall and weighed around 95 kilograms, while Sorensen was slimmer, more experienced, and capable of reaching anywhere Mike theoretically could. In the end, Sorensen came to a shocking conclusion. Mike was not inside the cave, but Mike's parents refused to accept that conclusion. They remained convinced their son's body was still trapped underwater. To continue the search, they offered a $30,000 reward for the recovery of his remains. Soon after, 43-year-old former Marine diver Carl Vossler entered the cave hoping to claim the reward. He never came back out. His body was recovered shortly afterward. The incident triggered enormous public backlash, with many people blaming Mike's parents for encouraging another dangerous dive. The reward was eventually canceled. In 2013, a Florida court officially issued a death certificate for Ben McDaniel, legally declaring him presumed dead, but his body has never been found. The case remains one of America's most mysterious unresolved diving disappearances. circumstances. Over the years, multiple theories have emerged regarding Mike's fate. One theory claims the disappearance was staged. According to this idea, Mike intentionally waited until staff members entered the water, using them as witnesses after they unlocked the gate. He then supposedly resurfaced under the cover of darkness and disappeared voluntarily. Supporters of this theory believe he deliberately left his car in a visible location, so people would quickly assume he had vanished underwater, allowing him to abandon his old life and start over with a new identity. Another theory suggests Mike was murdered, and the scene was staged to resemble a diving accident. A private investigator hired by Mike's parents reportedly discovered that the diving park owner, Lowell Kelly, had a violent criminal history and had previously been accused of kidnapping and assaulting an employee. The investigator also claimed that Lowell, while intoxicated, had visited the park on the night Mike disappeared. 2 years later, Lowell reportedly died under mysterious circumstances, after falling down a staircase and suffering a fatal head injury, adding even more suspicion to the case. As of 2026, Mike has been missing for 16 years, and there is still no trace of him. None of the theories surrounding his disappearance have enough evidence to be proven true. Perhaps the only person who ever knew the real answer was Mike himself.